So last week I spoke about the limitations of side hustles and why monetizing every waking second of your life is probably more of a recipe for burnout rather than financial success. Now, for obvious reasons, there were a few hustles that I left out of my video because I naively thought that my audience was comprised of entirely good, law-abiding citizens. I still think that's the case, so obviously, this video is purely an exercise in the hypothetical. Of course, if you were one of those rare few individuals that chooses the life of a hardened criminal while still watching business and finance channels in your off time, then you are going to want to know what the most profitable career paths you have available to you are. Just like an Ivy League business graduate deciding between investment banking or consulting, there are a lot of things to consider when choosing a criminal career, like experience and expertise required, work-life balance, exit opportunities, and of course, how much money you make. For my young viewer at the precipice of your hypothetical criminal career, I want to look at a few options for you. Selling substances, internet fraud, insider trading, and something else you would never think of, but might prove to be the easiest, most lucrative option available to you if you are willing to give up your morals, dignity, and respect from your friends and family. So it's time to learn how money works, which was made possible this week by Atlas VPN, a virtual private network that allows you to mask your IP address while using the internet. That might not sound like a big deal, but it can do some really cool things. Your IP address is how websites and online services track your usage. They can use these numbers to figure out where you are in the world, how many times you view their website, and even track products they should market to you over and over again. Using a virtual private network means that this number changes all the time, which takes the power away from the internet companies and gives it back to you. If a streaming service decides they don't want to broadcast a show in your country anymore, you can simply move your virtual identity to a country where they do stream the show. If an online store only gives out good deals to people that are first-time viewers of their website, then you can shop with confidence using a VPN. And if you want to get the best deals on things like airline tickets, hotels, and rental cars, then you would be shocked with how much money you can save when you pretend you're surfing the web from a lower cost of living area. Thanks to Atlas VPN, you can gain access to all of these features for just $1.99 when you sign up using the link in the video description below. One thing that you might not be able to avoid in your criminal career is taxes, and that is because, despite what you might expect, the IRS wants to make sure that any money you make, legal or otherwise, is reported on your taxes. I'm not joking. This is posted on their website. Obviously, no criminal is going to report arms dealing as their source of income, but they would technically be breaking the law again if they failed to do so. This means that even if the authorities weren't able to pin their actual crimes on them, they might be able to prosecute them for criminal tax evasion, a la Al Capone. So remember while picking your career that the IRS is going to be as big of a pain in the ass to your life as a criminal as they would be to your life as a law-abiding citizen after you had the nerve to throw out receipts from your home office. Now, let's start off with the most obvious career available to a graduate criminal. Let's call it substance trading. The substance trade in the USA alone is worth hundreds of billions of dollars every year, so there is obviously some good money to be made here, right? Well, probably not for someone just starting out. The very fact that substance dealing was the first thing that you thought of when you clicked on a video about criminal careers means that everybody else out there probably thought the same thing. If everybody else thought the same thing, then everybody with a desire for quick cash and loose morals is going to think of substance dealing first. More people entering the industry means more competition. More competition means less money to go around unless you have some kind of edge over the market. A legal business might deal with competition by marketing their product in a unique way, or better yet, by patenting some new feature that only they could offer to the market. Illegal businesses tend to take a more stabby approach to dealing with competition, so assuming you don't want your kidneys turned into colanders, you are probably better off working closely with an organization that has the manpower to give you some level of safety as you go about your business. Of course, they will take a cut of what you earn, normally by being your exclusive supplier, but to many, that is better than the alternatives. The problem is that you have basically now become an entry-level employee, and this might come as a shock to you, but minimum wage laws don't apply in this profession either. Sudhir Venkatesh, a University of Chicago sociology graduate, wrote his thesis on the issue and found that most street-level foot soldiers earn less than $3 an hour playing their trade. That's significantly less than the minimum wage for carrying out one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. He found that the organizations were able to get away with paying so little because their employees fell into two particular categories. The first group were, substance enthusiasts who did the work to subsidize their own usage. Since normal gainful employment wasn't an option for a lot of these people, they were happy to take what little compensation they could receive from this risky work. Often, that compensation would just come directly in the form of the substance they were selling. The other group were young, impressionable children who were drawn into the perceived glamour of being a hardened criminal. These organizations would prey on these children because they were happy to work for very little money and because they attracted less attention from authorities than their older criminal peers. The tragic scenes of the kid on the bike from Breaking Bad are not too far from reality. What this means for you as a would-be substance dealer is that you are going to have to compete for work in a market filled with people that are happy to work for next to nothing. The risks are also huge. Rival organizations are going to take their frustrations out on you, the low-level grunt. Not to mention that the war on drugs is still in full swing, which means you can face decades in prison, all for a job that doesn't pay very well. You could do what other legal businesses are doing and take your operations online. Modern incarnations of sites like the Silk Road let you pursue this career path while working from home. Unfortunately, there is more competition on sites like these than there is for dropshipping shit on Amazon. Add in the fact that you still need a supplier, and you're probably not going to be living a Scarface lifestyle anytime soon. The average income for a substance dealer in the US is between $3,600 and $24,000 per year full-time. I am not a career planner, but I'm going to call this a poor choice. Alright then, what about something that shifts the risk-reward ratio back in your favor a bit? Online fraud is another option for someone looking to start out their criminal career. The barriers to entry aren't as high, the risks are far less extreme, and the money is a lot better. The best part is that you can run one of these operations entirely by yourself, which all but eliminates the chances of you being ratted out or shanked by a business partner. Online fraud comes in all shapes and sizes, and you will really need to feel out what works best for you. Companies have more money to give, but they normally have better security measures in place. Individuals are less lucrative, but if you manage your time well, you can manage a whole portfolio of victims sending you money, because they think that you will help them fix their Windows 10, or marry them, or simply make 10,000% returns on their money. You can get creative here. Americans lost nearly $30 billion to phone scams alone in 2021. And unlike other criminal pastimes where you actually have to sell a product with profit margins and overhead, scam revenue is basically pure profit. A popular scheme recently has been crypto pump and dumps, and the best part about these is that they offer the potential to make millions of dollars in as little as a month, and legislation hasn't caught up fast enough to actually prosecute the perpetrators of these schemes, which are, in many instances, high-profile public figures who are not exactly shy about what they're doing. The real challenge here is legitimizing this money. Unlike substance dealing, where at the end of the transaction you have a really happy customer, the people giving you money in these schemes are going to want it back as soon as they realize they have been duped. Another key difference between fraud victims and substance buyers is that fraud victims can go to the authorities, so you need to make this difficult to track down the money once you have acquired it. Things like PayPal and normal bank transfers are pretty much out of the question. It won't take long before those accounts get shut down in this business. Crypto is another popular option these days, but it does have its problems. While it's anonymous, it is easy to track through the blockchain, which means if you ever want to convert your crypto back to real money, it is possible that you will be found out. There is also another bigger problem, which is that the kinds of people you will normally be swindling with things like email scams are not going to be particularly tech-savvy. The overlap of people that can buy crypto online but can't spot an email scam is practically zero, which is why you need something easier. The good old-fashioned gift cards are the go-to for precisely this reason. They are easy to buy, easy to transfer, almost impossible to track, and easy to cash out from. Your job is to somehow convince the victim to give you the code on the back of a gift card. Once you have this code, you have two options. If it's a store card, you can use it to buy something that's easy to resell. If you buy an Xbox using a gift card, you should be able to resell it on Facebook Marketplace for around 90% of the retail value on the same day. You have cash in your hand from a legitimate source, and you're ready to move on to your next mark. The other, more technical option works with gift cards for online marketplaces like Steam or iTunes. You make yourself an app. It doesn't really matter what it does as long as it works and has in-app purchases. You then use the gift cards to make those in-app purchases, which funnels a majority of that money into a designated bank account. Over time, your app might get shut down, but it's very easy to make a new account on these platforms and launch it all over again. Plus, you might be surprised how long it takes for these consequences to catch up with you. One of the best tools you have at your disposal is the victim shame. A lot of online fraud goes unreported and unpunished simply because people are too embarrassed to admit that they were fooled. This is not limited to individuals either. Large companies have been caught covering up money lost to financial fraud because it can make them look incompetent to customers and shareholders, and like an easy target to other fraudsters. If you have some people skills, you really can't go wrong with a career in financial fraud. Recent trends have seen some savvy fraudsters taking hundreds of thousands of dollars every month. But even less successful operators can earn a very comfortable salary working in the relative safety of their home, doing something that carries a far less severe punishment than a career in substance dealing. It's an easy winner. But what if you don't want to be stuck behind a computer all day? What is the right career path for criminals who prefer a more face-to-face style of doing business? Common street begging is protected by the First Amendment in the USA, where the right to ask for money is considered free and protected speech. The only limitations on this are that you can't use force, coercion, or intimidation when asking for money, because that very quickly becomes straight-up robbery. When you think of a beggar, you normally think of someone down on their luck, someone without a home, someone who, let's face it, may or may not have been a customer of the first career professional we explored in this video. But there are people who are none of these things who just make it their job to go out and beg for money. It sounds absolutely disgusting, but professional beggars can make bank. Estimates and reports vary widely, but some of the best professional beggars have reported to be making more than £600 or around $800 per day. Some beggars have even gone international, with organized beggar gangs flying from countries like China and major tourist cities in Australia, Europe, and America. This is tax-free money, which is not even illegal to have. You could walk right into a bank and deposit it without issue. You can also do this work while claiming any financial assistance offered to you by the federal government and your state. If you are morally okay directly competing with some of the most desperate people in our society, it really is hard to beat. The unfortunate reality is that most of these professional beggars make a lot more out on the streets than people who are genuinely homeless. Professional beggars are normally more confident. They care less about embellishing their sob stories, and they can normally present themselves as someone just down on their luck rather than someone who has been sleeping rough for years. I live in San Francisco, which, as some of you might know, has a huge issue with homelessness. I would be lying if I said I hadn't wished there was some way to move this issue out of my backyard. But the fact that people escalate this problem by doing this professionally just came as a huge shock to me. So yeah, if it wasn't obvious enough already, don't do any of this. There is more money to be made with less risk in careers that don't require you to take advantage of other people's addictions, naivety, or generosity. But if you didn't click on this video for the money, and you're just interested in being human scum, then I might suggest you watch my video on why political lobbying is allowed here in America. Thank you again to Atlas VPN for sponsoring this video and making it possible for everybody to keep on learning how money works.